Ahead and get started. Thank you everyone for being here and being here on time. The agenda has presumed a 5 o'clock adjournment, which I'm going to work hard to try to keep to be respectful of everyone's time, but we'll see how we do. We did it last time, I think. Happy 2025. This is a big year for us, I believe, and it's exciting to be back together and get cranking on a new calendar year and a big year for us. Just a couple of things I wanted to say. I think this year, maybe even more than ever, it's going to be important for all of us to be significant community ambassadors for Preschool Promise and the work that we do. And I have been trying to step up my work on that. So Shar and I have been talking all over town, or zooming too all over town with all the good things that we're doing and trying to spread the word. And going to ask everyone to kind of do as much as they can of being ambassadors for the good work that we do this year. And I also just wanted to share that CPS had elections somewhat recently for leadership and elected Corinne Moncrief-Moffett as their president. I called her and congratulated her on behalf of us and expressed my excitement to work with her and for our partnership in the upcoming year. And she expressed the exact same back, and she and I are getting together soon to discuss our partnership, and I just wanted to be sure to share that with all of you. So that's what I got for my welcome. Marcia, if you're ready, we'll head with the roll.
Okay, Chris Bennett? Lynn? Here. Erlene Jackson? Here. Two of y'all? There's another one. Berlin!
I can't hear.
Yeah, okay. Terry is an excused absent. I'm here now. Are you here? Okay. Michelle is an excused absent. Margaret is here. Okay. Vicki Johnson. Carolyn Jones. Here. Micah.
Here.
Raven. Christy. Here. And Sal.
All right, thank you for that. Looks like we have a quorum. Next on the agenda is review and approval of the minutes of the November 19th meeting. Were there any suggested changes or revisions to those minutes? Seeing none, is there a motion to approve?
I move to approve.
Pamela, is there a second?
Second.
Second by Carolyn. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, nay. The minutes are approved for the November 19th meeting. Thank you, Aaron, for that. Next, we have our mission moment. Shar, is that?
Yeah, that's me. So I had planned an exciting welcome to 2025, rah, rah, let's go, like, get excited, right? We know that today has been difficult with some challenges that are being faced with federal funding that we know directly will impact the population that we serve and perhaps our mission delivery, right? And so I was reminded that, you know, for our mission moment, we adjusted a little bit because we as Preschool Promise will be who we've always been, aligned with our core values, which is a sense of stability for the network and the providers, a tireless commitment to making sure we can deliver on that mission no matter what the limitations may be, and to keep the course, right? We are not in a position where we are pulling people out of the storm or telling people that it's not raining. We are sitting with them as we walk and move through this storm. We are able to do that. The Preschool Promise team is able to do that because of all of you as board members. So as we start the new year, we wanted to say to you all, thank you. And we have a small token to remind you, for each of you, that the power of the promise is each of you and what your contributions are as board members. So it'll be maybe a little bit more difficult before it gets easier, but we hope that this is a reminder to you of what we can do together. And for us to say to you, thank you for being volunteers, for being champions, and being an essential part of the mission, and for being the power behind the promise. So that's my
I'll take that.
You all are featured in the headshots you submitted. So that's my mission.
What age am I on here?
Judging by all the grown people giggling, it sounds like everyone is excited, so thank you for this. Next, we have our executive director's report, so it's right back to you, Shar.
Yeah, starting with our strategic priorities, if you will switch to the first slide, this is just more of what we told you it was going to be. So really upping our communication strategy again to make sure that people know the preschool promise is here, what we're doing and celebrating what our success is. We've completed our fiscal forecast and budget planning that you'll hear in the report from Tony and the Finance and Audit Committee, making sure that our programmatic policies and procedures are aligned with what we're doing. So that when we have updates today, like from the Department of Children and Youth about the new assessments, about the new inclusive practices to make sure every child is served, that our program and procedures work with those, as well as changes that we may see in the market about funding, availability of federal funds, making sure that those are aligned. We are discussing today our Year 8 evaluation and finalizing the scope of work. That is the last big contract that we will ask you all to approve prior to next big hurdle for us is budget, and as Micah mentioned, want to make sure in the first quarter that we are targeting levy discussions with CPS. So that is the outlook for the first quarter priorities. Also to talk about public policy. As you all know, we have a public policy procedure embedded in our governance principle that really focus on the fact that we are not an advocacy organization, but our advocacy and public policy really looks like public information. Making sure that we provide the data and the information that's needed, and when we do decide to take a position on public policy, that is grounded in our core values and things that have been approved and endorsed by the board. I would refer everybody back to that, but also the sources that we look at public policy and the partners that we rely on. That is Groundwork Ohio. You all have seen in your materials summaries from them, invitations to their webinars, and how you engage. This morning, a very informative thing where they shared with us the polling throughout the state of Ohio on what voters as well as parents and families said are prioritized for them in the early learning environment. We have created a new feature on a Google-based board site that all of the public policy issues and webinars you can access right there. So you get quick things from it. You will get a summary from me and the Board of Managers updates you get weekly in our ED reports to do the highlights, because I don't anticipate that many of you will have time to read those 26 pages of policy perspective. So I will elevate those for you, but also put the source documents in that Google platform for you. We also rely heavily on Coursey for Children, so thank you, Vanessa, to Oprah for that, the Child Care Aware of America, to elevate for us the policies that are most important to the network. The CEO project, the first 5 years fund, and we encourage you all to sign up for those emails that have the 5-minute read every morning. In those 5 minutes, you get a weigh-in on what's happening at the national level and state-specific issues in early education. Also, the Federal Child Care Coalition kind of stood up and became more active. You will see a letter in there as attachment to the ED report, prioritizing what they think is important for the current federal administration. We also rely on NACI and their policy statements, as well as the National Head Start Association. We did receive notification that an OMB letter went out probably 2 hours ago from the Office of Management and Budget at the federal level that says for right now, funds will still flow for Head Start purposes. Right? So that is a relief. Weight off of our shoulders. We will continue to be updated on that. We ask all of you to engage in public policy as you're able. And we know that Groundwork Ohio is sponsoring a big advocacy day in March. You've also received information about that as well. Our partners are coordinating transportation for that, so we will send you out a link. If you are interested in riding on the bus from here to the Capitol for that day, please let us know. They're only willing to make that free service available if we have a large number of people that are willing to travel together to do that. So that's another opportunity that will be available. You also saw in your ED report, we start talking about partnerships and collaborations again. As Micah said, it will be very, very important for us to harness the powers of our stakeholders and constituents and partners is that way. We will send you a regularly occurring list of who those partners are. If you have ideas of organizations, of groups, of individuals that we should partner with, please make sure to send that our way. Anyone from the Cincinnati Association, who thank you, Michael, for making the presentation to last week, to our new partnership that we will have with Santa Maria. We're always looking for partners to do it because we cannot be in this work alone. And I will say particularly not in this work alone either, right? So continue to send us those ways. And we are, so that you all are aware, I I've asked and been asked to sit on the board of Human Services Chamber, which is going to take a little bit of a time commitment for me, but it is built in 23 partners in our nonprofit community that have strong relationships that we do as well. And you also may see me running for a national board position for AC. Elections close next week, so I don't want you all to get surprised by that if you see that out there. We participate in that process that brings us not only networking and visibility to our organization, but much needed resources by being a strong partner in those organizations. And lastly, moving to our dashboard and our enrollment snapshot. You all have a physical copy of the dashboard here. As you can see, nothing's red. It would be hard pressed for me to get something red. Red means we are so off track and can't get back on track. So even things that we know are yellow, we are far below our goals, but we do have strategies in place that we will get those back on track. The highlighted things that we're most concerned about is making sure that we're partnering with organizations that focus on mental health and social emotional learning, and we're continuing to provide individual supports for our provider network and our educators. We will do something unusual, which is send you out an updated dashboard at the end of February before our April 1st meeting, because many of the initiatives that we have will be launching in the next 2 to 3 weeks, so that you will see a few more greens and understand more specifically the strategies of how we're getting those things that are yellow on track. I will also call your attention to the new providers in the network and the increase of high-quality seats that we also have at the bottom corner of that as well. To also highlight our enrollment numbers, I have a picture here. We are at, when we look at this snapshot, which is again, you all have to remember this is data that hasn't been reviewed, it's unchecked data yet, it's just as a snapshot of what our weekly reports are. We are showing that our overall processed applications are at 1,374. We have 983 students enrolled, and just to give a comparison from last year, we had 965 students enrolled. So our enrollment number looks a little bit higher this year. We also have to make sure we get to the end, because we know that some of those students may not pull through with enrollment, so we may have additional withdrawals. So this is a snapshot in a moment in time of where we are. I think we'll also talk about in the Finance and Audit Committee report, you'll see the snapshot and the picture that we always do that show trends in enrollment year over year to give you a better picture of where we are. There's also one attached here as well that you can see in the chart. Okay?
Sure. And give me the definition of enrollment again. For those children that are enrolled, are they children that met the requirement in the seat for 1 day or?
You've been approved and you sat in the seat for 5 days.
5 days. Okay.
And that's also our trigger for whether or not we initiate payments. So if you've been in the seat for 3 days, you'll have to make it 2 more with no chest up.
Okay.
Right? And it is a measure that we chose because we wanted to make sure we were good stewards of the funds, and also a process that we made sure we were efficient in how we asked providers to report. Some people have the capacity, as you know, with the TAP system to do daily enrollment. We don't have that capacity. So we had to put that in.
Sure, I had a quick question. Going back to what you were speaking to before in terms of partnerships, I was wondering strategically, if you had to identify 1, 2, 3 things we're looking for in partnerships, what would those things be?
Philanthropy and cash. Philanthropy and cash.
Yeah,
cash. We have very
Only needs 2.
So we have good relationships, we're common constituencies, and we all come together. I have to applaud the United Way of networking and bringing us together with that, as well as foresee always creating a space for those who are focused on early education, not only in preschool, but also infant toddler space as well. So we have lots of friends, we don't have rich friends. So the more opportunities and avenues that we have to build those relationships that bring resources not to the physical promise, but to our providers and our families is what's needed most.
Are you referring to the item on the agenda that says partner with organizations or something?
Yes, I think that was your question.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, partnerships and collaboration.
Yep.
Okay.
And on that, you also hit another quick footnote talking about at least we have some comfort that Head Start funds are still flowing. I wasn't sure as it relates to early childhood education in our area, are there any conversations going on around what it looks like for the providers if that spigot goes off or some of the other challenges that may come given what we're saying?
So, that's a loaded question. The proclamation happened at 5 o'clock yesterday, so not a lot of conversations since then, but everybody is in motion. And Vanessa, do you want to add? Yes, lots of conversations, lots of results in pull through. I don't know if I can
And they
say
backed
that.
off on some of that.
Some of it, yes.
I would just share with you that the Department of Children and Youth, they had their meeting with the CCR&Rs and some others, and they said, I mean, they don't have any answers yet,
course.
but they are going through the review process and, you know, expect to have some clarity on it. And I think the deadline for them to submit that information is February 7th. So we'll know more.
And
Yeah.
then did you, on the provider call today, because I want to make sure that it is not just a top-down strategy, they are engaging the providers. It did spend about 5 minutes saying, we all recognize we're in a challenge, we don't have any answers for you, but this is the process that we're working through. So it is discussions that are had, and I think our team probably fielded 20 or 30 calls this morning from providers, where what I've encouraged everybody to do is to be an empathetic ear, listen to what people have to say, and reassure them that we are leaning into this with you. We're not just going to bow out, and we don't see it as a you, us problem. It is a our problem that we have to develop a strategy for, and what we know we'll share.
Looking at, on the tuition application status, those denied for being too young, is there a process to then revisit them once they hit age? Is that more of a deferral than a denial? Or?
It is a hard denial because they have to fill out another application because their
really?
circumstances may have changed. But the process that we've done with that is that we have touch points throughout the year with our postcards so that everybody in our network gets a touch point postcard in the family so that they stay connected with Preschool Promise. When we do re-enrollment status, the first people that get that card for re-enrollment are our 3s and our 2 youngs. So they get a special mail out to them that says, now's the time we think you may be eligible. For our 3-year-olds that are going to 4, their application is automatically pre-populated, but for families that were denied, now they could just submit the same application that they always did, but we don't maintain all that data and flow in our system. We do require them to complete another application, but it is targeted outreach.
I mean, does that feel to you like a barrier for, you know, if someone's, let's say, 2 years, 9 months, right? And then, I mean,
Yes, it is a barrier that we have addressed several times in several ways, and I'm so sorry that Terry England is not here because she is the champion of saying, like, this doesn't make any sense. How do we do this? But through the process of negotiation, what we have talked about is that it is firm on a state rule on the date that's selected that you have to meet the age requirement, and we were unable to find a loophole or negotiation tactic that allowed us to make an exception to how we public funds.
thank you.
I would all, sure. It's on. I would also say that because it's CPS funding, CPS has chosen to have us follow that. It is conceivable with our new master agreement that if we chose, we might want to go to the mat on that because we want, it's more artificial in a childcare year-round setting than it is in CPS that has these hard start and end dates. So I don't think that's a battle that Charlotte likely wants to take on, but I do want to mention that it is something we've chosen not to challenge in our operations.
Any other questions on the executive director's report?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, I don't have a question. I just want to acknowledge that I was able to sit in on one of those webinars, 2024 election lessons learned, and I thought it was very informative. I learned a lot about engagements and collaboration in Missouri and Texas and California and some of the barriers. But I want the link to the Crown of Ohio. I don't know if I got that. the link for the groundwork on how if I can get that so I can.
Absolutely. It was this morning. They were sitting out the recording in the slide deck this afternoon.
Okay.
We will send it to you individually and our board of managers update and make sure it's in the Google Drive.
Any other questions or comments for Shara? All right. Next on the agenda is the 2024-2025 evaluation contract renewal. That's up for approval at this meeting. Kenitra, are you good to go?
Alrighty, so, good afternoon, everyone. So, I believe everyone had in their pre-week a copy of the statement of work renewal summary. So this is for the evaluation for year 8. So I'll just give high-level updates on this. So this goes for the originally approved by the board of managers from May 25 to 2022. This was a 3-year term. So we are requesting for this to be approved. This is for the body of work from July 2024 through September of 2025. You guys can see this is for $145,000. Key things are staff is, I think that it is approved. There are not significant changes, but there are significant changes in terms of the amount from year 7 through year 8. You look at the term from year 7, it was for over 404. Transitioning to this year to 145. We do have Aubrey here from Innovations. If you guys have any questions that you want to ask regarding changes from year 7 to year 8.
Great, thank you. Any questions for Kenitra or items for discussion on this one?
The scope has been reduced. So the scope has been reduced, and the cost nearly a third. And I guess I just want to make sure we're going to have results that we need to demonstrate our accomplishments, and because we will need something to show the public what we're doing, and I mean, I think that's our key. You're comfortable with the scope, and we have what we need to demonstrate our community that we're doing our job.
Yes, we also have a thorough evaluation. There are some things that have been deferred to the next year because we want to make sure that what we are reporting on is information that's going to produce the results that we need right now. There's still information that we have from previous years that we could still actually use to continue producing outcomes on. So if it's things that we can wait on, we feel that right now it's fiscally responsible to wait and defer that work out. And things that we feel that we need information on right now, that's what we're going to include in the current scope work.
I would also add that we attached to this was also a summary of other research papers, documents, and data sources. When we originally started with the evaluation process, there was not something in existence like the rapid survey, right? That does, Stanford University does this around the country, connect opinions of parents. There was not 4C that just did a survey of providers in December with a phone bank that surveyed all of the providers in the network. So our original design of the evaluation was when there weren't these other resources in our market to do this as well. And what I would like to see is us collaborate and use some of those other data resources rather than us bearing the sole burden of saying what the snapshot is, but to also be transparent, Tony. What I also hope is that as we move to this levy process, there will be some data that is brought to bear around that, not just the evaluation of what we're doing of our work, right? So in a year where we know that there should be some investments on public opinion and polling and outcomes as well, we don't want to double spend at a time when money's scarce.
Absolutely. And I guess to kind of follow up Tony's comments, last question is, I am curious, are there any unique questions we're seeking to answer or anything you want to say uniquely with the new proposed approach to data collection? Because I do agree with you. I think we may have moved beyond, is this worth doing? But is there a specific question or something we specifically want to be able to say with the data?
I think there are several unique questions, but I would say some of that for me would need to wait until the cost modeling project is done, that is now underway as part of a 2-year process that tells us, one, what is the actual cost of a high-quality education here, and what is the need, and that's going to be a statewide project that may not, so what we may do is come back and say, when the statewide project is done, the unique question may be, what do we need from Hamilton County or this footprint? That's not going to happen this year. It is in process of what's happening. What I would say is, to your point, I think there are some unique questions. I'm not so sure we can answer those unique questions solely with a fiscal promise investment.
Any other questions or discussion here? Carolyn?
Yes, I just want to make sure that what's included as we move forward with this, that we acknowledge and also agree to work on some of the questions and things that came out of the meeting that we had, the presentation or evaluation. There were lots of areas that I think we alluded to in terms of what we're looking for, why, and all that. And I think that it's worthy of us and worthwhile for us to continue to have those conversations, not year to year, like one time a year, but to make that a part of the ongoing discussions as we move forward with that. I hope I'm clear.
I think you are. I think what I will say to that is I agree. And we used to have a process that annually, our work plan that I presented to you all in November, every element of that work plan was based on one of the recommendations in the evaluation, right? That was a huge heavy lift that we had to look through every year. And instead of doing that, what we got instead was the strategic plan. And so what I would say is, I would hope that as much as we can, when we move to the next strategic planning process, that we bake the priorities of those recommendations into that strategic plan, because the new recommendations are very hard for us based on timing, because when those recommendations come out, it's after we already have that budget approved for the year, right? So we would have to figure out how to get ahead of that in a way that's not just the strategic plan, but to your point, there are very few of those recommendations that were made by innovations that we haven't been able to take some action on as budget allows. But to your point of revisiting it, what we will do is start to do a snapshot, and we will pull those recommendations for you to say, these were the actionable ones, and these are the ones that we may have to defer, so that we can keep them on our radar.
That makes sense to me, small steps, not looking to solve it, but small steps. And so as long as we agree that that's what we need to do.
What you will see in the strategic plan here are based on at least 4 years of evaluation recommendations. And we'll try to be a little bit more deliberate in how we do that, so that people don't have to struggle to connect the dots.
Thanks for that, good suggestion. So,
My question goes back to Shara's first remarks. It's taking my brain a little while to catch up. But I have begun to hear that children are not showing up for school, for Head Start, or preschool because of fears of being rounded up and deported. And I am wondering if we have heard anything about that in our own local setting, and perhaps, although way down the line in terms of priorities, whether that will impact the children that we serve showing up for programs.
We have not heard about it, and I'm not so sure anybody would report it in this premature way that they would want us to share it. I know for a fact it is happening through other channels. That's why we included in the pre-reads the Safe Spaces guideline that we will be encouraging and sharing with people, because it is not only not showing up, but how do you have a designated person if no one comes to pick up? How do you have a drop-off where there's no one there at home to drop off, right? So these are not new issues, they were issues that we thought we were done with, but also we have to think about the large percentage of population that we serve quite intentionally that are non-English learners, that have those fears of the diverse community, because that is the core of who we said we would serve. So we are keeping a watch on it,
talent, either point. I think that is everyone's fear, and we're involved in national as well as local discussions on how we address that. So I will bring it back to you. We will continue to monitor that. My challenge is that when we actually saw it in our data, which would be an attendance drop or enrollment drop, it's too late. So we are relying on our partners to give us some guidance and informal conversations, which means there may be operational shifts and things that we'll do to keep you all informed of before any release to this board level. But we're keeping a watch on it. The way that you'll see it from us, maybe it's a snapshot or maybe just leaving an email that says, this is what we see in the changes that we're making to child protection. But we do rely on that Safe Spaces guide that got uploaded last Friday. That gives us some guidance of how we can all offer supports. The next two provider council meetings and copying conversations in March will also have those as topical issues so that they can tell us how we can be a good resource for them.
Yes, on that note, and I'll ask, I am curious, and you hit it right on the head, Shara. Much of what we find in this evaluation are rear-facing metrics, rear-facing data. I am curious, what are some of the leading metrics or indicators that we do look at to kind of get a sense of attendance, KRA, whatever it may be? And that may be a conversation for a different time. I know we have it, but I was just curious to say, what is it?
It's on here. Enrollment, attendance, KRA scores, through the evaluation. So I think what we'll do is we can sit down and highlight for you the evaluation, but if you look at the executive summary, those are the things that collectively, not just us, but with input from our partners in the community, Success by Six, 4C, the other Ohio preschool initiatives, these are the things that we think matter. So if you ask me, the one that I think is going to be the hardest for us to get and we're going to make the biggest hits is there are two things that we know trigger, right? Attendance matters, right? And it's harder and harder for us to capture that. What also matters is tuition reimbursement rates. And that's the thing that we're going to be chasing as we see these shifts in publicly funded child care and the pause on federal dollars. We don't have the capacity to chase that. We have the capacity to say how do we contribute or mitigate the problem. The cost modeling, we hope will be able to chase that. So if you ask me, where do I know it's making a difference? High quality preschool, regular attendance, 2 years of quality preschool, the things that you see in our executive summary.
Anything else before we call the vote on the evaluation contract renewal? Good discussion here. Okay, is there a motion for approval?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Second. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, nay. The contract is approved. Thank you all. Kenitra, thank you for that. I also, while we're at this one, I want to share with the board that Kenitra is recently named a YWCA Rising Star. Congratulations on that. Next, we'll move to committee reports. We've got finance first.
Okay, thank you, Michael. Committee met. The audit is underway and appears to be progressing well and with no serious issues. And so we are awaiting a final draft of that we can look at. I don't know, was that another month or so? Patrick, when we see that, another month or so. But so far so good, and nothing to report out on that. Toward the end of your packet, page 42, you'll see the 5-month actual, 7-month forecast versus budget. All appears to be in great shape. Our tuition assistance has rectified a little bit from a timing issue from our earlier budget report, and you can see that we're almost dead on our budget for tuition assistance, and our actual number of students supported is substantially higher, and we're seeing a slight decrease in the cost per student, which helps keep us right on budget. If you look at page 42, the key differences in budget in the bottom right-hand of the sheet is very helpful in understanding each of the line items. The biggest item is that we have not used our contingency, and either in the program or the administrative. So that totals about $450,000 of savings, nearly half of our savings against budget as of right now. The rest of the line items are pretty tight, and I think we're in great shape throughout. The question that the committee asked Shara, and obviously one we're concerned about, is making sure that she has the staff she needs to accomplish the goals we set out, and that's where the biggest savings is on the page, is on the staff-related costs. And Shara assures us that she is getting the job done, and that those savings, although substantial, represent a great team she has in place, and she feels capable of doing the things we ask of her. If you glance through those key differences, you can pick out anything that you'd like to ask about, and I stand ready to have Hector answer those questions.
Any questions for Tony?
Glad to take them.
All right,
Thank you.
thank you for that, Tony, and the Finance Committee for all the hard work. Next, we have the Governance Committee. Turn it over to Marcia.
We have two things before you. The annual performance evaluation of our CEO in your packet on page 44 and 45, 46. 44 just kind of describes the process. And just in summary, in the past, we've kind of gone through some iterations of how this CEO evaluation should go. Of course, the intent is to make sure that we're evaluating our CEO against what we expect from her relative to the strategic plan and the work before us. So this is our very streamlined, efficient, clear iteration of this. We basically want to know, and I'll channel Dr. Owens, it's like if she wasn't doing the job, she would know about it by now, right? So this is just to formalize this whole process to give her good feedback on her performance. So I'll call your attention to, first of all, page 45 and 46, because this is what's going to be emailed to you post-haste, I believe today. Today. In the morning. Okay, she said in the morning. All right, because it is going to be after 5 o'clock, and we'll let them go home and have some dinner and enjoy their evening. So tomorrow you will get this in an email. And the first part is the skills and abilities, is the usual things that you would ask of a leader in terms of their interaction with boards and staff. That last one on page 45, I think is very appropriate in this climate that we're in, because we're in this space of trying to figure out where we're going, where's the money coming from. She's been very diligent about looking for the money. So we want to give her some feedback on that. And then on page 46 is more tied to the strategic goals and objectives. Gives you an opportunity to either check one of those boxes there, but to give feedback, comments, and opportunities for improvement. I want to encourage us to take advantage of giving her good feedback and just take the time to think about it, and so that she gets to hear from us. This is an opportunity for us to share openly and honestly about performance. She's doing an excellent job. I tell her that all the time, but always, it's always good to know and to hear, what am I doing right for real? and what things can I do a better job of. So I want to encourage us to take the time to do that, and those development opportunities as well, to just kind of think about it and think about things that we can do to improve and that as a leader she can improve upon. So we will get that in our email. The deadline for completing that is February 18th, 2025, this year.
And we'd love to have everyone completed.
Yes, yeah, I'm glad, thank you, Board Chair, for saying that. We want 100% participation. You know, maybe do we need an incentive? I don't know, but let's go for 100% participation on that. And then after that, your responses will be sent to either myself or Micah. We will summarize it. Char won't see it, the staff won't see it, it'll be the two of us seeing it. And then we will convene an executive session on April 1st. I think it's right after our board, or during our board meeting. Okay, so, but that's the day we'll discuss it. Any questions on the evaluation? Trying to keep it simple, because at the end
I
of the
love
day.
that. It is simple.
Right, we gotta think about it and, all this stuff, but, because we feel like if it's simple, you'll do it, right? Take the time to do it. All right. If there's some questions on that, the only thing I'll say about the board education opportunities is that because of the season that we're in, we talked about some topics, but we kind of want to see where things are going over the next few months before we roll topics out. But we did talk about having those board education opportunities at the second hour of our meeting. So as you all know, you have 2 hours blocked off in your calendars for these meetings. Amen. Yes, 4 6, yeah. But we used to get done by 5 because of the efficiency and effectiveness of our board chair over there. And yeah, we said we're going to be done at 5 o'clock, so I'm not going to talk much longer. But so with everybody's concurrence, that's what we would like to propose, that we start to use that second hour as our education opportunity. That way we'll know and we can plan to stay and all that, just 1 hour to talk about topics that we need to know in order to best support our organization. Any comments, questions, concerns about that?
That's a great idea.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's a great idea.
Yeah, for leaders, right? Okay. All right, well, with that, that's all I have, Michael.
Thank you, and thank you to the governance committee. It's a lot of work that goes into getting the performance evaluation ready, so thank you for that. Next on our agenda is the CPS update. Vera, do you have an update to share? Thanks for being with us today.
Thank you for having me. Just an update of our numbers as of today. We have 1,946 preschoolers in our system, and out of that, 744 are tuition assistants through the expansion dollars. We will also begin we've already started, our transition of our P4s into kindergarten. We are looking at 1,268 of our P4s transitioning into Cincinnati Public Schools kindergarten classrooms. So an ask is, if there's a system or a process that CPP has developed, that as you are transitioning children into kindergarten, you are knowing exactly where they are enrolling, that we may then check in the fall to make sure that that progression is going smoothly. My department and also our customer care, as you all probably know, we're in phase 2, as we are transitioning some buildings. We are there to support, along with our customer care department at the district level, to help families or providers to speak with families of the opportunities that are available as they enter kindergarten.
Thank you so much for that, and we will also review the notification to providers as we always do, the postcards for that as well, and work with you collaboratively to say who is the point person, so that as families and providers reach out with specific questions, we can connect you.
Thank you.
Thanks again, Vera. We always appreciate your updates. Any other observers' comments? All right, well, it's 4:47. Anyone else have anything they want to share before we adjourn the meeting? Otherwise, we'll call it another efficient meeting. Thank you,
One
everyone.
quick thought, Mike.
Sure, fire away.
And this just kind of came back up, this ruminating on this conversation of strategic partnerships. And I do just have a question. Is the budget structured in a way to support the effort of potentially connecting with other strategic partners that can be philanthropic or funding resources for CPP or for the children of our community? Are there any changes we need to make to the budget, or are you good to go, Sharon, on that part?
I had forecasted for you all that we may need to make some budget adjustments. Fortunately, because of Hector's awesome work and the work that the Finance and Audit Committee did, there would be no formal request for budget adjustments this year from this board. This was the first year that we thought we may have to. We are in good shape. We did not spend every single dollar. So for right now, we're good.
Okay.
Good question.
Yeah, so is your question about does she need support to focus on those partnerships or just generally about?
I was speaking more financially, because
Okay.
there may need to be a convener, or there may need to be someone else she needs to send on her behalf. And so I'll follow your lead. Now, it could be a far more inclusive question of what may be needed, but as it relates to how we're budgeting and how we kind of set things aside, does she at least have the financial support to do that?
Yeah, and I think the way that this board has always operated is that we never overspend what our budget is. And if we don't have dramatic shifts in any line items, that we have some fluidity, because we have a delegation of authority policy that if I was going to spend on something that was a huge ticket item, I would have to bring to you all for approval anyway. So while the line items may change in where we spend, that's always the flexibility we've had, as long as we don't go over budget, and if we do, there's a clear explanation of what that overspend is on that line item, and it is aligned with our policies and practices. Now, if you would have asked me early in the year, I thought there were going to be some dramatic overspends and underspends that I would have been comfortable making the decision on my own without input from the board. As you can see from our forecasting where we are in our actual spend, that's not where we are.
So I just want to, your question triggered something, and that is the particular areas where we're showing yellow on the chart, that if a discussion about what resources might we add to address this, that's just what I'm thinking, that we may need to put some resources to those things that weren't in that line item.
And we will, because we have some extra and some cushion, and when we went through the forecast, Hector would ask me like, do we think 60% chance of spending this or 70%? And so I do think that the cushion that we have in there in the forecast accurately reflects where we think we're going to have to spend. And if not, I would come back to you all and say, to meet that social emotional learning and mental health responsibility, I think we need to do another $20,000 project with peanut butter and jam or whatever it is we need to do. I feel confident in your trust to be able to make that decision if it falls below our delegation of authority. If it falls above, then you would see it for approval of the contract to be able to do that. And I think most of those, again, the initiatives that we're talking about don't require a high dollar spend as much as they require an alignment. But if something happens, like money continues to get held up, and we have to do a different type of expenditure to try to meet what it needs, we would bring that to you to say this is what it is. So some days it's good to be thrifty, right, and have an extra $1 million or something.
So looking forward in the near future, what is the process? Do we need, looking for the levy, looking towards that, for the CPP and the CPS boards to have conversation? Is there a protocol or a process? How does that?
Yeah, I'll start on that one. The kind of renewal of the master agreement that we agreed to with CPS less than a year or so ago outlines a little bit of the process and says we'll get together, we'll talk, we'll come up with a shared vision. We have generally operated in the past with we kind of start with the board chairs, board chair here and president there, which that process is now underway now that we've elected a president. We then usually, we have internally a kind of like master agreement committee of our board that does a lot of the heavy lifting on that type of stuff. Who it's with CPS kind of changes. And then the ultimate goal is to come up with kind of a shared vision resolution that's adopted by both boards prior to any type of levy. So it's underway. It's varied a little bit from time to time, but that's kind of been the general structure, and that's what we're going to seek to do, but it's really just getting started.
Okay.
So I'm guessing I'll have a lot more of an update on that at our meeting in March, our next meeting. Good question. Anything else? All right, well, good meeting, and we're still before 5 o'clock. Anyone, is there a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
Berlin, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, nay. Meeting's adjourned. Our next meeting is March 25th.
Thank you.